Welcome to Seize the Mains by Malhotra's IS Academy. I am Surbhi Sardana and I will be taking this daily answer writing practice initiative from Monday to Friday at 9 pm. Today is the third day of daily answer writing practice initiative. If you are new to this initiative and this series, I recommend that you watch the first lecture of this series, which will introduce you to the basics of answer writing, the important components you need to introduce in your answers, and the important points that you need to inculcate in your daily studies to build excellent answers and to get a high score in mains. The topic for today is from GS paper 3 and it's related to science and technology. Today's topic talks about the developments of science and technology and their applications in everyday life. So, to begin with, when you start preparing for the subject science and technology, if you're preparing for UPSC, make sure that your basic science concepts are very clear. Go through your NCERTs or whatever PDFs or whatever current affairs sources you're referring to, but make sure that your basics are clear. It is hard to expect a very direct question in UPSC prelims from basic sciences, but it's the stepping stone for you to answer technical questions which are asked from this area. For UPSC mains, the examination would mostly focus on the applications or the contributions of Indians or some technologies, some breakthrough technologies which have been talked about recently in current affairs. So if something has been going on in news for the past 2 years at least, there are high chances that it will be asked in your mains exam. Especially a question can be expected where applications in everyday life of such a technology are asked. Before I display the question for today, just like every day, make sure that you have a pen and a paper with you, and as soon as I display the question on the screen, write down some points for yourself which you understand about the concept that's asked in the question. Make your own notes, scribble on the paper, and then proceed to developing your answer. Use those points when you write your own answer. Also, you need not make your notes because the PDF file of this presentation which I am sharing here, it will be available to you. The link will be there in the description below. You can directly download the entire presentation here from that description link. So no need to make notes, just follow with me and listen to the important points I am taking you through to how to build an excellent answer. If you are somebody with a background in sciences or engineering or any field like that, so I think this part of the syllabus, the part of the syllabus which concerns with science and technology and developments, this would be easier for you as compared to an aspirant who has a background in humanities. So keeping both the aspirants in mind, UPSC always tries to balance the paper. So if you're somebody who is from a humanities background and you think that the questions that are being asked in UPSC or any state civil services exam are out of your league, or you're just not able to understand even the basic concepts of those technologies, you did not worry about much, because in the exam you'll not be expected to write about the technologies in a detailed explanation form. You will be asked mostly about the applications and how they can be useful, or what are the potential benefits of the technologies that have been asked in the exam. So just work on your answer writing skills, increase your knowledge of topics in current affairs, especially if you're not from a science and tech background, because you'll definitely need to work little more harder than an aspirant who has a background in science. So let's begin with today's question. As I'm repeating again, you can pause the video for 1 or 2 minutes after you see the question and note down your own points, what comes to your mind. And once you continue with this practice, that on seeing the question you do not get worried or you do not feel scared, rather you start writing down the points and writing down a plan of framing your answer, you will definitely get more confident with time, and your brain will become very flexible to to answering different range of questions. So here I am going to display the first question, the question for today. Okay, so you can read it for yourself. I'll narrate it. The question for today is that the Nobel Prize in Physics of 2014 was jointly awarded to Akasaki, Amano and Nakamura for the invention of blue LEDs in the 1990s. How has this invention impacted the everyday life of human beings? This question has to be answered in 250 words and it will fetch you 15 marks. As you will see that this question has got some really tough terms. See, this is a psychological play. Anywhere you go, if you are taking any test, not UPSC or any test, for example, even a basic language test, or even in your CSAT paper, whenever you see tough names of places, people, or tough words or long words or confusing words which have similar letters in them, the psychology of your mind is such that such words confuse you and they decrease your confidence. So this trick has been used by UPSC and State Civil Services Commissions again and again to test your strength of taking the exam. And this is especially done with science and technology questions because UPSC knows that most of the aspirants are from humanities background. So when you see this question, I can underline the tough words. There are 3 names which are very tough. When you read the word Nobel Prize, you already get chills that okay, what is being talked about here? But don't worry, this is a very simple question. If you read the second part of the question, you'll see that the only thing you have to answer here is how has this invention impacted the everyday life of human beings. So don't worry. Applications and how it affects our lives can be easily addressed with just basic reading of current affairs and some GS part of basic science and technology books. So let's see how we are going to write this answer. Also to say, this question was asked in UPSC Mains paper GS3 of 2021. So as you can see here that the Nobel Prize mentioned is from 2014 here. So it was not a recent phenomena. The blue LEDs Nobel Prize was not a recent phenomena, but still this question was asked because blue LEDs are all around us and they are always in news and they have revolutionized how our society functions, how we live. So the blue LEDs are very important. So such questions not only confuse you, they decrease your confidence, but they are put in place to check your observation capabilities. How well versed you are with your surroundings. Do you understand that the lighting that you're using in your room right now is a basic CFL or a bulb or an LED? So do you understand this fact? And whatever the screens you have in your mobile phones or on the screens that you're watching this video, probably a TV or whatever, they also are formed of LEDs now. So LEDs are a basic part of our lives, and after the invention of blue LEDs, the way our lives function have totally changed and they have totally got better than before. So that's why this question was put in place. Don't worry about that, okay, UPSC is asking about something that received a Nobel Prize in 2014. No, that it's not there to confuse you here, but to check your observation capabilities. So let's see how we are going to frame the answer for this question. So as I talked yesterday that whenever there are 2 statements, and you will definitely find 2 statements in most of the questions in UPSC Mains, use your first statement at that time to build a solid introduction. Talk about the first statement, paraphrase it, change it into different words, or introduce some your knowledge that you know about that statement. So that introduction which you create by using the first statement, it acts as an introductory conversation with the examiner, just like you talk to a friend and you introduce yourselves and you don't keep on saying the same words again and again. in a conversation with your friend. Similarly, it's in the case with writing and writing in UPSC mains. Whatever the statement has been given, here the first statement from here to here. So you definitely have to talk about it. The word limit is 250 words. You can elaborate on it for long, but you don't have to use the same words. So let's see what part of our knowledge, of the knowledge that UPSC aspirants have, or any state civil services aspirants have, what part of the knowledge can be used to elaborate on the introduction part of this answer. So since it is written here, the Nobel Prize in Physics of 2015 was jointly awarded to so and so for the invention of this blue LEDs in 1990s. So we'll talk in a bit about the Nobel Prize and why this invention got the Nobel Prize, why blue LED, the invention of blue LED is significant. We'll start by talking about that. So in one line here, I'll be explaining to you that what is the definition or what is the significance of Nobel Prizes. So as you can read here, the Nobel Prizes are the awards given to for intellectual achievement to those who have conferred the greatest benefit to mankind. So since the examiner has used the word Nobel Prize in the question, you start by appraising the word Nobel Prize. What is the Nobel Prize and why is it important? So in the first place, Nobel Prize is conferred to people who have conferred the greatest benefit to mankind and intellectual achievement. So this is our line 1 of introduction. I have seen many people who elaborate on the Nobel Prize part. Please try to understand that this is not a question about Nobel Prizes, this is a question about blue LEDs. So giving one line to defining Nobel Prize, to appraising the word Nobel Prize is enough. After that, just begin to talk about blue LEDs or this particular invention. So since blue LEDs are there, first of all, you need to understand, you need to know beforehand what do you mean by LEDs. If you know it in the exam, well and good. Just tell the examiner what an LED is in general and then talk about blue LEDs. Okay. If you don't know about what an LED is, I'm sure if you are a serious aspirant, then you would definitely have read about this invention and how LEDs are changing our lives. So just frame your answer accordingly as per your knowledge. Since you are going through this video and you have the content available and this is not the examination hall, so you can definitely prepare for this topic very easily. So our next line talks about LEDs. The full form of LEDs is light emitting diodes, which I have written here in the first line. LEDs are basically semiconductors that have been built in a way that they emit light when they are activated. So this line, let's keep it here. For people who don't know what LEDs are, semiconductors are devices in technical applications. Don't worry about them much, they are just devices, and LEDs are a type of semiconductors. Let's see, this is a semiconductor. Semiconductors have many types and LEDs are one of them. Okay, like this is the simplest form I can give to you. LEDs are a form of semiconductors, and when these LEDs are turned on, when they are activated, they emit light. Okay, so whatever the different colors of lighted LEDs you have seen, they are basically semiconductors and their properties are such that they emit light of different colors, red, green, blue. Okay, so here we have to talk about blue LEDs in general. So this line number 2 is done. What gives colors to LEDs? Here I have explained that different chemicals are used to give different colors to LEDs. If you don't know about this part, this second paragraph, whole of it or a part of it, whatever you can understand, just write it down, just recall it, just try to learn it. If you cannot learn it, then don't worry about it. Okay, we can always manage and answer with the present knowledge that we have, and we can get really good marks with our present knowledge if we learn to frame and present our answer. Okay, so don't worry. Let's go to the third paragraph. So talking about blue LEDs, red LEDs and green LEDs, they were used earlier also. They were invented in the last century in 1960s. So why blue LEDs, the invention of blue LEDs, why it was important? We already had two types of LEDs. So if you know a little bit about colors, I think you must have read about them in your kindergarten. There are three primary colors, and when they are mixed together, they produce the color white. So these three colors are red, green and blue. So you already had red light, green light available in the market, but producing the blue LED, this like LED, this semiconductor which would give out blue light, it was very hard, and scientists, the engineers, could not produce it for the longest possible time. So when blue LEDs were produced, we had all the three types of LEDs, all the three colors, and they could be mixed together to produce white light. So whatever the new homes or offices we are building right now, we use white LEDs there. If you remember, from like few years ago, these LEDs were not in place. We used to use like tubes or bulbs in our households, while now we just put on LEDs everywhere in our surroundings, and our interiors look very beautiful with them. So it has been made possible only after the invention of blue LEDs. So that's why this invention was given a Nobel Prize. The trio got a Nobel Prize. So you just have to know this basic, and now you need to frame the second part of your introduction, and this will form the basis of your definition of blue LEDs and why this invention was so significant that it got a Nobel Prize. So let's see what we have here. LEDs in green and red colors had been around for many years, but since white light is produced by mixing the three primary colors, green, red and blue, the invention of blue LEDs was a huge technical advancement. It required chemicals, including carefully created crystals that were very hard to make in the lab. So as you can see, we have written here that it was very hard to produce blue LED. We have just used different sentences and different parts of our knowledge to emphasize on that point. Gallium nitride was the key ingredient used by the Nobel laureates in their groundbreaking invention of blue LEDs. So the last line talks about gallium nitride. Again, I would say, if you're finding it hard to remember the name of this chemical, don't worry about it. Just understand the concept, that why blue LEDs were so important, and use that conceptual knowledge to build your introduction. Okay. So this part is done. The introduction is a bit long here. We've taken 2 paragraphs in the introduction, and see, like the first part of the question has been justified. The conversation with the examiner has begun. The examination will feel very good when you talk about everything. You've talked about Nobel Prize, you've talked about LEDs, and then you have talked about why blue LED was so important. Okay, and why it was so hard to produce them. So our introduction part is done here. The second part is about the linkage points. Linkage points, let me take you to the first screen first. See, the first part of the question has been answered. The Nobel Prize in Physics of 2014 was jointly dash dash dash. How has this invention impacted the everyday life of human beings? How has this invention impacted the everyday life of human beings already? So whatever developments you have seen around you, that or you have read about some of the developments or the potential developments, just talk about them. And invention impacted, it's not written that you have to write uses here. You don't have to write only the uses. If you think that this invention has impacted us negatively, you have to talk about negative points also. But keep one thing in mind, that the examiner has already used the word Nobel Prize, and we said, what is the Nobel Prize awarded for? A Nobel Prize is awarded to something that has benefited the mankind. So if you're already saying in your introduction statement, and if the examiner has said that Nobel Prize has been given to this, so you have to talk more about the benefits, and towards the end of your answer, you can just introduce a small paragraph or a 1 or 2 line statement that these are the potential disadvantages or concerns. Concerns is a very formal word. Concern is a very good word. That these are the concerns associated with this invention. So we need to keep these in mind. Okay. So this is how, see, there is no directive used here. It's not discussed like the first question we saw. The second question we saw was about examine. There is no directive in this question. You just have to answer about how. Okay. This is not a formal directive, but when the examiner uses such formal language, so you have to appraise what is being talked about. You have to portray it as a positive technology. Okay, and you can, as I said, you can talk about the concerns in a very short form. Okay, so let's see. Let's now begin with answering the second part of this answer about the impacts that it has created on our everyday lives. So introduction is done. Now we'll go on to the linkage points. So after the introduction, the linkage points are very small because our benefits are like good in number today. So we need to adhere to the word limit. So our linkage points are just simply that this invention opened the floodgates for several applications, and hence it earned a Nobel Prize for the trio. Notice this word trio here. The word trio, I'm not using the 3 difficult words which confused me with like at the first glance of question. Don't use the same names again and again. Just use a small word trio. Save your words for putting better points in the answer. So we have just justified our introduction that this invention has opened many open floodgates to several applications, and that's why this was given a Nobel Prize. That's why the 3 people got Nobel Prize for this. And the introduction, the final line, some of the most important applications of blue LEDs are discussed below. So we have successfully created an introduction for a very tough question, tough looking question I would say, and now we can just simply talk about the benefits or applications we know about this technology. So here are the body paragraphs. See, if you have just read about blue LEDs in general. Blue LEDs are very energy efficient. The bulb that we used to use earlier in our households, that bulb converted only 4% of the electricity that it consumed into light. Only 4% of electricity was used. Other part of the electricity, the remaining 96% was lost as heat or resistance lost. Okay, so only 4% was used to generate light. So while LEDs, these LEDs which have been created, they use 50% of the electricity. Can you believe that our power systems that are functioning right now, they use so less amount of electricity. Rest goes into the heat generated, the energy is lost. So if we are shifting from 4% to 50%, this is a breakthrough technology. Okay, so it will save you electricity and it can give more light in less used power as compared to a bulb. So here you can read it for yourself. The previously used incandescent bulbs converted just 4% of electricity into light, but the modern white LED light bulbs have a conversion rate of more than 50%. Hence, they save money and electricity for all users to a greater extent than ever before. I think this point is clear. Now, just tweak this point according to your choice. You can use a headline for all the points that we are using, or you can just simply write down the points 1 to 7 and you can underline the keywords there. Okay, so LEDs can also be charged by solar light, which was earlier not possible. You must have heard about bulbs nowadays which function even without electricity. They can save light for some time, they can save power for some time, and they can work even without power. So if these LEDs can work on solar light, hence they can be used to provide light where electricity is not available. They can be used to provide light in far-flung areas. And how it will benefit? It can benefit children who were not able to study after dark, after daylight is not there. So it can help those children, it can help those households function after evenings. It can also help small businesses to run after daylight hours. So this is a breakthrough development, and it has helped us, like countries, developing countries like India, immensely. So second point talks about a solar installation can charge an LED lamp to last a long time. Hence, it has become possible to provide light in far-flung areas without electricity supply. This has benefited households and helped small businesses to continue working after dark. So I think this point is clear. Let's go on to the third point. So now in the third point, you've given, see, when you're writing applications also, write the most important applications first and then go on to write applications which are not very important. So your first 3 to 4 applications should be very good. Okay. The first thing here talks about energy efficiency. This is the primary thing for developing any technology, that it should be energy efficient. That because we are struggling with energy crisis. Okay, we do have energy crisis right now. So energy efficient is the first thing whenever you are appraising any technology. And secondly, its reach. The reach of technology should be there. It should reach to poorer people. It should be easily available, and it should benefit people in ways that it could not benefit before. So these 2 points we've talked about. Third, we'll talk about the technical aspects of it. We've written here that LEDs have become an essential component in digital screens. The computers that you use, the TVs that you use, LED TVs, the mobile phones, the smartphones that you are using. So LEDs offer, through LEDs you can change the brightness, you can change the light that comes out of a particular LED at a certain time. So you know, these changing of brightness applications, they have come in the last decade or so. So they have been made possible only by the use of LEDs. So this contrast feature and their usage in digital screens is a new development. So we have talked here about the technical development. Also, there is another type of LED, that is organic LED, through which you can make flexible types of screens. You can give them different shapes and sizes. So that's a new development. We have clubbed here both the points. If I'm talking about usage in digital screens, so we have clubbed about OLEDs also. Questions about OLEDs have been asked in UPSC prelims before. So prepare this topic also, organic LEDs also, very thoroughly. So talking about the next benefit, let's go on to the next benefit now. The next benefit also mainly talks about, it has been segregated from the first one, and it talks about the various types of sizes in which LEDs are available and the contrast facilities, contrast applications that have been made available which were earlier not possible. So here is your next application. The next application is about durability. What is durability? That if you buy a phone today, for how long will the screen last, or will the screen go dead in just a few months? With the use of LEDs, the durability of devices has increased. LEDs are very durable, they last for a very long time. Hence, we have come up with this amazing benefit. So, when you use LEDs, people giving up on their devices the instances of people giving up on their devices has come down, because devices function for much longer than before, and the electronic waste that was generated earlier, that has also come down. So it has benefited the environment. Okay. So we started from talking about energy efficiency. We talked about the reach, how LEDs are beneficial than technologies we had before. What are their daily uses, like in our phones and applications like that. Then we elaborated on the daily uses, like for phones also, for TVs also, we had other technologies available before. So in the fourth point, we have talked about why LEDs are better than the other technologies before, and we talked about organic LEDs also. And the fifth point talks about greater durability. So it is good for the environment also. So the next point is that, earlier lights which we used, or earlier technologies that we used before the incoming of blue LEDs, they used to emit a lot of heat. So, and it added to a great extent to generate global warming. So, LEDs produce very less heat. As we talked, that they convert 50% of the electricity used into light. So only a fraction of part remains to convert into heat. So they are very energy efficient that ways. They generate a lot. They generate very less heat as compared to other technologies available. So they are good for the environment, and they are also safe to use in closed spaces. Okay. And the next point it talks about, it talks about the recent applications which I found in Google News. Whenever you are studying about a topic, just go through Google Images to find out if there are any flowcharts available or any schematics. Click on the Google Images tab on your screen whenever you Google anything. And Google News, like if there are any recent applications which researchers have found out, you can use them in your exam, and those points the other aspirants will not have those points, because not everyone follows these tips. Okay, so use Google News a lot, use the headlines, and you can generate points like these. So if you search blue LEDs and you go to the news part, they will talk about their use in agriculture. That blue LED resists the growth of weeds. Weeds are a very huge problem for Indian agriculture also, and many weeds in our country have grown resistant to herbicides. They don't die when we use the chemicals on them which are already available with us. So these LEDs have proved to be useful weapons to curb the growth of weeds. So this is an amazing development. Use more of such developments and such applications by going to Google News. Okay, just search blue LEDs on Google and check in the news column that are there any new developments taking place. So yeah, search for more of them and send them to us in the answers you write. Okay, innovate and keep innovating. As I told you in the beginning, that since this invention has received a Nobel Prize, and by this time you must have understood that the applications are so high in number that this invention did deserve a Nobel Prize. Okay, but since in the question they have asked about how they have changed our lives, how they have affected our lives, so you can talk about concerns in a very short form. And here we have this second body paragraph talking about concerns. So if you know that blue light has been very much in news, the light emitted from your phone screens or iPad screens, it has blue light in it, and it decreases the amount of melatonin in your body, which causes you to sleep. It causes drowsiness. So blue light has that side effect, and most of the individuals don't know it, that they're having sleep issues because they're using their TV screens or phone screens a lot. So this has to be talked about. This could be one of the concerns. And the second concern is that they have a very narrow range of wavelength. What is this technical term? Don't worry about it if you're not a science student. They just write that they do not provide very much high visibility. Like with an old like 100-watt bulb, you could light up a whole room. But with the LEDs of the same electricity usage, the light is not that intense. So the light that you get from LEDs is like very dim. So you have to put a lot of LEDs in place at the same time. Okay, so these are two of the concerns. One of the thing is that visibility for seeing objects is not too high, and secondly, read about this in detail, that it reduces the amount of melatonin produced in your body. It causes sleep issues. It messes up with your circadian rhythm. Okay, circadian rhythm. Take this as a homework for you, for those of you who do not understand what is circadian rhythm. And when you write the answers, just end your answer, like after you finish your answer, give a definition of circadian rhythm. What is it? This discovery got a Nobel Prize few years back. Prepare Nobel Prizes of like 3-4 years. and and use them, use those inventions or discoveries in your mains answers. This gives an intelligent outlook to your answers. This makes the examiner think that yes, it makes the examiner know that you are an intelligent person. Okay, so start using such keywords, words like circadian rhythm, melatonin, and keep researching, keep enhancing your preparation. So these were the two concerns. Now we have already reached towards the word limit. Let's see how can we conclude this answer. For conclusion, I am interlinking it here with the introduction that blue LED was the one of the toughest inventions and one of the best inventions for mankind. So we are talking about that. And towards the end, since we are writing a civil services examination for India, it is always beneficial to talk about what the government has done and how woke our Indian government is, how woke our policies are. So just read through this. Blue was the last and most difficult advance required to create white LED light. The Government of India, realizing their importance in energy conservation and provision, encouraged their use by promoting several schemes like Ujala and National Street Lighting Program. Thus, it is apt to say that blue LEDs have revolutionized our lives. See this. I see so many aspirants who just freak out over preparing so many schemes. I understand that for prelims you have to learn a lot. You have to learn about most of the schemes. But this is how your schemes can prove to be useful. If you know about these two schemes, about Ujala and this National Street Lighting Program. National Street Lighting Program has used LEDs on a pilot basis in most of your street lights. So most of the streets have been now working on solar light, on LEDs and developments like that. And this Ujala, it provides a solar lamp to people with areas in living in far-flung areas. So just read about both the schemes and in your answers write us like more schemes which you can use in the conclusion part of this question. Okay, so I think we have framed a really good answer for a seemingly tough question within the stipulated word limit. And now I request you that you download the PPT for this video, for the PDF for this presentation, go through the entire answer and try to frame your own answers. Send your answers by 12 PM tomorrow, that is 11th of February. We have been entertaining answers which have been sent after the time, after 12 PM, but there are so many entries. So I request you time and again that send your answers in PDF format and send them positively by 12 PM tomorrow. Okay, here is the email ID, rmiasmainswriting@gmail.com. It is also available in our description. And the topic for tomorrow is from GS4. It is about role of family, society and educational institutions in inculcating values. So see, we are learning every question here and we are also understanding what types of directives have to be addressed and how. We are also seeing that we are also moving through different parts of the syllabus. So if you are somebody who's watching this video for the first time, I recommend that you go through all the videos because they will help you immensely in your mains preparation. Even if you have started your prelims preparation, you're not sure whether you'll be writing mains this year or you have nothing related to mains right now, I still urge you to follow this initiative because you will then be able to learn more things for your prelims as well. And when mains arrives, you will already be prepared with so many things that you will not have to worry about the basics. Okay, so download today's presentation, and if you're a new follower, then you can also download the schedule for the next 30 days of this initiative from the description below from our Telegram channel. You will get the link in the description. And also we promised that we'll come out with a video on how to make good notes. Most of the points can be found in the introduction video to this series. Also, we'll be enriching that video and we'll be coming out on how to make good notes, how to create just one page before your mains for your notes and how to enrich your answers. We'll be coming out with that video very soon. So stay tuned, follow this initiative, write your own answers and share them with us. Good luck, work hard, and see you tomorrow.